Hey, 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 it's your girl, your favorite paralegal, aka Cassandra Lynn, and welcome to Legal Doc Talk 24/7. I hope you guys are having an awesome day. Today, I am bringing you a new lawsuit against Kanye, Bianca, his wife, and Milo. And Milo Yiannopoulos, I think that's how you say his name. Well, these folks have been accused allegedly. I want to make sure I stress that enough. Allegedly, they are being sued by former Yeezy staff over alleged illegal labor conditions and hostile racist environment. Mm-hmm. The rapper allegedly never paid a group of Yeezy employees who claimed they were subject to illegal conditions and bullying from managers, y'all. So Kanye and Milo are being accused of engaging in forced labor and cruel, inhumane, and degrading treatment toward the team brought on to create the app that the rapper mogul hoped would compete with Tidal and other stream players, according to the lawsuit that was filed over the weekend in Los Angeles. So, your girl had to grab a copy of that lawsuit and we have to dig into some tea, baby. So, grab your coffee, your tea, or drink because it's 5 o'clock somewhere and let's dive into it. Okay, so we have here, and it is a lot of plaintiffs that do not. Oh, okay. Now, I pulled this. I have not read through this, and I think that's the beauty of it. So it's like I'm gonna get you get a reaction and info at the same time. I have been reading some articles, however, and they were advising that there were actually children that were not only working but being exposed to some things that they should not be exposed to. So, all of us are going to figure out what's going on in this lawsuit. So, plaintiffs, we have and I don't even know if it's a Mr. Shamar DaCosta, Foloso, Mafoking, Miles Jackson Leah, Olunko Le Olantanji. And then it says minor children, RM, John Doe number one, John Doe number two, and John Doe number three. Each minor child through the next friend guardian ad litem to be appointed by the court. So, first and foremost, because there are minors involved, they're going to have to grant these children and guardian ad litem to oversee the case. That's normally how this works. But this is not a good look on Kanye at all. They brought suit to Yeezy LLC, Kanye West, and Milo. So Bianca wasn't named as far as a party in the lawsuit, but I am assuming that she did take part of things and she is part of Yeezy LLC. So I'm sure once we read on, we'll get some more information. But here are the complaint for damages. This is what they are suing for: forced labor under the Alien Tort Statute, cruel, inhumane, and degrading treatment under the Alien Tort Statute, failure to pay minimum wage, failure to pay overtime, hostile work environment, discrimination, failure to prevent harassment. All of this is under California's FEHA, inattentional fraud, misrepresentation, and quantum merit for work already done, meaning that they did not get paid for the work that they have already done. This kind of sounds similar to the last video that I did with Kanye with the personal assistant that he promised was going to be making, $1 million per year, and then he bumped her up to, what was it? Some type of chief position, and he promised her $3 million but never paid her. So it's really disturbing to see that here is another lawsuit where people, employees, I'm not even saying people, employees from Yeezy is actually stating that they are not getting paid. And not only are they not getting paid, he's not paying overtime and he's failing to pay minimum wage. He failed to pay minimum wage. Let me see. What is the minimum wage in California? The minimum wage in California is now $15 an hour. $15 an hour. Let me see. The law included in inflation. I guess because of inflation, they bumped it up to $16 this year. So $16 is the minimum wage in California at this time. We. Let's see. Now, the Alien Tort Statute, and I'm gonna share my screen right quick so we all can. Oh, let me see. Alien statute. I want something that is just the statue and not nothing else. Well, we all know what alien means, right? Yes. Okay. So I am bringing this here. I'm sorry, y'all. We want to get everything together. All right, so alien, we know that's dealing with foreign. So the alien action for tort just simply means that district courts shall have original jurisdiction for any action by an alien for a tort only committed in violation of laws of nations or a treaty of United States, meaning that so he hired people outside of the US to work for his company. And we're going to dig further into the petition to see, where they're actually from. But this particular tort, this statute right here allows district court to have original jurisdiction so that they are able to file in the US. Now, for this particular case, because Yeezy is in California, this gave them the opportunity to file suit in California. That's simply all that means. All right, let's get back to our petition. So that is what it is. Whew. And they demand for a jury trial. All right, so we already know who the plaintiffs are, who the defendants are, jurisdiction. We talked about that right here. And once again, anytime the venue is always going to be proper. Well, when I say the venue is always going to be proper, what I mean is that they could go ahead and file suit in that particular state because they do business in California. So on and so forth. All right. I'm gonna skip down to the meat and potatoes of this. Woo wee. All right. Procedural requirements. I'm gonna read this part and then I'm gonna break it down. Prior to filing this complaint, plaintiffs filed charges of harassment and discrimination in violation of the FEHA with the California Civil Rights Department, CCRD. That's what we're going to say throughout the petition against the defendants. The administrative charges arose out of the same facts alleged herein. On June 29, 2024, plaintiffs received a right to sue letter as to all defendants from the CCRD. Any and all prerequisites to the filing of the suit has been met. So, in Texas and a lot of other places, we call it the EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. But every state is going to have a department like this. So normally, anytime there is any type of harassment, discrimination, any type of those violations, they go to these particular departments or committees. And what they have to do is they have to those departments investigate, and if they find plausible substantial evidence, then what they'll do is they'll issue a right to sue letter to the plaintiffs and say, okay, you have the right to sue. So that means that they found enough substantial evidence and gave them the right to file suit in court. So when they file the petition, they also have to file this right to sue letter. Okay, so that's all that means. So that this section of this paragraph is just saying that they met all of the requirements before filing suit. Now, ooh, we getting into the plaintiffs. So Mr. DaCosta is an individual that is located in New York. He is black. Mr. Filoso, he is African American. What I'm sorry, he's actually African ethnicity. He is a resident of South Africa. Miles Jackson Leah is Caucasian. He is a resident of United Kingdom. Whew. Another plaintiff is a resident of Nigeria. Then we have a 16-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 14-year-old, a 17-year-old. One is the 16-year-old resides in United Kingdom. The 15-year-old resides in Hungary. The 14-year-old resides in California. Let's see. The 17-year-old is from United Arab um Em- oh my gosh, Emirates. And then that is sad. Caucasian, white complexion, Caucasian. And then the 17-year-old is Jordanian and has white complexion. I see where they're going with this. The reason why they are stating their ethnicity and their race and complexion, this is going into the racial discrimination portion of that. So anytime you are going to a committee and you are trying to file for racial discrimination, you have to pretty much provide proof and evidence that based on your color, your ethnicity, your race, you are being discriminated against. So this particular complaint is painting a vivid image of these employees. Now, first and foremost, I am totally shocked that Kanye West is hiring. Now, 16 I can understand, but a 14 and 15-year-old, that's a little, I understand that, kids as young as 15 do get jobs, but this right here, I would have definitely left it in the hands of adults, but that's my opinion. Um, so we got Kanye West, Yeezy, and Milo. And okay, let's get to the facts. So plaintiffs all worked at defendant's direction on the YZYVSN application, and this is the app that was developed by defendants and were subject to harsh working conditions overseen by each of the defendants. Defendant Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, is an American recorded artist, entrepreneur, and controversial media figure. Defendant Ye is known for his recordings as well as his various business ventures through his brand, which he markets variously as Yeezy or YZY. Upon information and belief, defendant Ye owns several properties in the state of California, including Calabasas, Malibu, and West Hollywood. Upon information and belief, defendant Ye is also a member, manager, shareholder, and or owner of several companies organized and located in the state of California. Defendant Yeezy LLC is defendant Yee's personal business and the company that he operates his business ventures through. Defendant Yeezy maintains employees in the state of California who participated in the directed the unlawful conduct described herein. And filing with the California State Secretary of State, defendant Yeezy describes his principal place of business, and that's blase, blase, blase. All right, so defendant Milo Yiannopoulos is a controversial political commentator and a former news editor. If a lot of people know, when Kanye was running for president, Milo was on his campaign, and Milo was actually his former chief of staff. But I'm pretty sure they will state that in here. Let's go into 31. So, defendant Yen Yiannopoulos has been the subject of past media scrutiny and was previously accused of advocating pedophilia after the emergence of several video clips in which he said that, oh my gosh, relationships between 13-year-old boys and adults can be perfectly consensual and positive experience for such boys. Now I'm disturbed. I gotta find those videos. I'm disturbed. Defendant Yiannopoulos was the chief of staff for defendant Yeezy beginning on or about 2022 until at least May 15, 2024. So that was just recently that he stepped down. Upon information and belief, defendant Yiannopoulos was tasked with overseeing various projects and business ventures on behalf of defendant Yeezy and Ye. Defendant Yeezy utilized a remote workspace based in California to carry out its business activities and commit the unlawful acts against plaintiffs described herein. Further detail. On information and belief, defendant Yeezy utilizes a California based remote workspace for all its business activities, employing individuals from different countries and time zones as it practice and as a matter of course. As set forth and herein, all relevant decisions and directions by defendant Yeezy were issued from defendant Yeezy's principal place of business in Los Angeles, California. Employees of defendant Yeezy often, if not excessively, worked remotely via several digital online applications such as Discord, Zoom, and Google Meet, and via several instant communications and or texting services such as Slack, WhatsApp, iMessage, and cellular texting. I'm telling you guys right now, I'm pretty sure the attorneys are on it and will be subpoenaing all of this just to prove that these individuals did work as Yeezy employees for them. So any conversations that was have, any videos, they're going to be found and pulled and reviewed. This is crazy. All right, so let's talk about this app. Creation and acquisition of the YZYVSN app. In the early spring of 2024, defendants sought unique opportunities to promote Ye's latest album releases, Vultures, and the upcoming Vultures 2. In March 2024, defendant Ye made several public announcements on wanting to launch his next album, Vultures Volume 2, on his own streaming service website. Upon information and belief, defendant Ye wanted his own streaming platform or website so that he could avoid sharing profits with digital streaming platforms such as Spotify, Tidal, uh, Apple Music, YouTube Music, etc. I get that part. I get it. You want to make your own money and you don't have to worry about paying anybody. I get that part. Due to defendant Ye's public statements, several app developer groups began separate projects to develop an app in the hopes that defendant Ye would acquire, and I say Ye and Ye, I'm going to say Ye. Defendant Ye would acquire it and invite them to work for him. So people were out here creating apps and presenting it to Kanye and saying, hey, look at my app, pretty much pick me, pick me, pick me. The app developer groups were comprised of several different groups of developers from all over developers from all over the world that were fans of defendant Yee and his music. In relevant part, the groups referred to themselves as YZYVSN and YZY App. On March 17, 2024, YZYVSN employees contacted defendant Yee's Instagram account. On the 28th of March, defendant Yee's Instagram account contacted the YZYVSN Instagram account to start discussions and learn more about the YZYVSN app. On the 29th of March, defendant Ye and Yeezy employees Christopher DeRoyo, Ami Suki, and Jonathan Solorzano, acting as representatives of defendants Yee and defendant Yeezy, met with select members of YZYVSN development team, including Masamo Finza, Vizina, Venezia, and Cameron Cam Cross via Google Meet for the first time to discuss the YZYVSN app. Defendants tasked a member of the development team, a 20-year-old developer from Argentina named Massimo Venezia, to be the head of the development team. Defendant Yeezy informed Mr. Venezia that he would be the manager at Yeezy and promised him the opportunity to come to Los Angeles. On April 7th, 2024, defendant Yiannopoulos told Mr. Venezia of the app development team that they would acquire the YZYVSN apps for a promise of $120,000 upon completion of the app. Yeah, we've seen this in the last Kanye lawsuit. A lot of people always saying they're going to promise to pay somebody and they don't pay anybody. In a group chat with some of the YZYVSN developers on April 7, 2024, defendant Yiannopoulos reported that Yee is very happy and that those we did not extend immediate offers to may nonetheless see their names in the agreement. I will try to find a place for everyone. Jonathan, our CTO, will be reaching out to designers this week as we have a full-time vacancy for front-end web designers elsewhere in the company. Promises, promises, promises. On or about April 10, 2024, defendant Yiannopoulos and defendant Yeezy employee identified as Hassan provided the YZYVSN development team through Mr. Venezia with a sale to acquire the YZYVSN app. As of early April 10, 2024, the combined workers on the YZYVSN team comprised approximately 30 developers. So they developed 30 developers, designers, and marketers from various countries all over the world and included children and young adults aged 14 to 24. I'm going to read that part again. As of early April 10th, 2024, the combined workers on the YZY VSN team comprised approximately 30 developers, designers, and marketers from various countries all over the world and included children and young adults aged 14 to 24. My children are into technology, especially my middle child who is 16. If that child had ever came to me and say, "Hey mom, I'm part of, working with Yeezy," and what, I would have shut that down. Even though it may have been an opportunity, but never once did anybody contact me or ask me, could my child work on such a development team or whatever the capacity of his role was. That's bananas. Where are these kids' parents? I don't care how much money you got. We both gonna be working on that team. But I'm gonna make sure we have all our ducks in a row so that we can ensure that we're getting paid. That part. The YZY app development team was a compromise of approximately 10 developers, comprised of minors and young adults, which was absorbed by the YZYVSN development team. They are killing me with these kids. As a part of the acquisition, defendants Ye and Yeezy require all minor developers, those less than 18 years of age, working on the YZYVSN project to sign volunteer agreements and all members, regardless of age, to sign non disclosure agreements. Upon information and belief, defendant Yiannopoulos oversaw the signing of the non disclosure agreements and having the YZYV ZN developers sign the NDA. Defendant Yiannopoulos required all of the developers, including each of the plaintiffs herein, to send him pictures of their government IDs and other documents reflecting their age and citizenships. At all times described herein, defendant Yiannopoulos, Ye, and Yeezy, and they're talking about Yeezy LLC, and each of them were directly and personally aware that YZYVSN's development team included minor children of various ages from various countries, including the minor plaintiffs herein. So, pretty much to kind of sum it up, they did like an acquisition. They brought out this team because remember they were saying that this team was comprised of people everywhere developing apps and presenting them to Kanye. And so what they did is they acquired them, made them sign volunteer agreements and NDAs, but they were fully aware that there were minors that were included in this development team. Defendants Yeezy, and Yiannopoulos were all personally aware that the minor plaintiffs were working on the development team of the YZYVN VSN app. Despite on or around April 13, 2024, defendant Yiannopoulos and Mr. Venezia began to pressure the minors to sign the NDA under the threat that they would be kicked off the project and would not receive any payment for their work if they did not sign immediately. Defendants, through Mr. Venezia, made representation to each of the plaintiffs that they need to sign the NDA to receive payment and that the payment will be made once they sign. The minor plaintiffs felt they had no choice but to sign the NDA or lose their right to be paid. On or about April 2nd, 2024, defendant Yiannopoulos communicated directly to the YZYVSN developers. In the recorded meeting, defendant Yiannopoulos commented on the competition between the app development teams and noted that YZYVSN had won. Defendant Yiannopoulos announced to the group chat that defendants go behind working with the YZYVSN team, which by then included the YZY app team, which included plaintiffs, was so cheaply acquired developer talent doing a better and cheaper job than expensive agencies. So what they're saying is that, they didn't put, how can I say this? The app was better than big name uh developers do, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. um yeah, this is wild, man. This is wild. All right, so now we're going into the development of the YZYVSN app and involvement of Yeezy employees. So by April 7th, 2024, defendant Yeezy's employees, defendant Yiannopoulos, Yeezy Chief Technology Officer Jonathan Solorzano, Edward Contreras, and Chad Spencer were added to the combined app development team's group chat on the messaging platform Discord. Defendant Yeezy employees joined the YZYVSN project to oversee the development of the YZYVSN app and work with the YZYVSN developers, including the plaintiffs. The Yeezy employees that oversaw the app development included Yeezy's chief of staff, Milo Yeezy, the CTO officer, well, the CTO Jonathan Solorzano, and Yeezy employees identified as Edward Contreras, Chad Spencer, and Sevi. On April 10th, a meeting was held between Ye and a small group of workers from the YZYVSN app. The majority of the YZYVSN developers and the plaintiffs were not permitted to attend the meeting. So only a small group of workers from the app could attend, but not everybody. And some of the plaintiffs. That's fishy. Upon information and belief, and on or about April 16, 2024, defendant Yeezy intentionally but secretly hired a select group of only white Caucasian workers on the YZYVSN app development team. Oh, wow. Upon information and belief, defendant Yeezy and defendant Yiannopoulos approved the hiring of secret group of developers to save costs and to have these workers oversee the rest of the group. Specifically, Yeezy hired Mr. Massimo Venezia to oversee the app's development team as a project lead, and he was paying him $105 per year. I'm sorry, $105,000 per year. Defendant Yeezy hired Cameron Cross, who was the senior development, for $125,000 per year. Jalil was hired as a developer for $105,000 per year. Connor Power was the UI designer, $35,000 per year. Mm. Gunta, a UI designer for $35,000 per year. Mr. Bro as a designer for $35,000 a year. So immediately after acquiring the app by defendant Yeezy on or around April 10th, the working environment on the Discord group chat, one of the methods that was used by the developers, including the plaintiffs, to communicate and perform their work, it became hostile. So as soon as he hired these folks and as soon as he acquired that app, things changed. Development group chats on Discord messages service were filled with harassment regarding age, race, gender, sexual orientation, and national origin and the ethnicity. Some team members were called slaves, while others in the chat referred to them as new slaves. Mm. Mhm. Had to take some of my coffee. This harassment was perpetrated by defendant Yiannopoulos. Yeah, Yiannopoulos. I'm gonna just, yeah, that name there. On April 10th, and I'm gonna call him Milo. Defendant Milo sent a message to the group chat and used a black brown skin emoji to refer to plaintiff DaCosta, and also sent a message of calling a younger member of the group a school power. Huh. Members of the development team, including each of the plaintiffs, were regularly and viciously bullied for their ages, race, gender, sexual orientation, and national origins and ethnicities. After defendant Yeezy acquired the app on April 7th, app development work could only be accomplished through hitting side groups known to only select members of the team. Plaintiffs were bullied and threatened that if they did not agree to perform to work long hours without breaks, they would not be paid. Many members of the app development team, including minors and including each of the named plaintiffs, were required to work long hours without pay and required them to sacrifice school and personal time. On several instances, plaintiffs were required to work through the night in 12-hour shifts and forego sleep. Defendants Yeezy and Yiannopoulos were aware of these conditions because throughout the entire development process, defendant Milo and other Yeezy employees, including Jonathan, Ed, and Chad, monitor and supervise the projects. So pretty much what they were doing is, if they were on Zoom, you can't click off. We got to see you working. Don't turn that camera off. And these people oversaw these plaintiffs, including young adults and minors, working, knowing that they have to go to school, knowing that they have a life outside of this. Whew. On defendant Yee and Yeezy's behalf, each of these supervisors personally directed the project team, including plaintiffs, via Discord. They also held project meetings either on Discord voice channels or virtual meeting spaces like Zoom or Google Meet. Members of the app development team, including minors and including each of the plaintiffs, were tasked with performing on defendant Yeezy's pornography venture. YZY. Oh my gosh. Minors were exposed to this. In the group chats that defendants Yee and Yeezy maintain in order to direct plaintiffs' work, pornographic images of the app's development were discussed and the minors were exposed to pornography. Following the completion of the app in early May 2024, defendant Yeezy and defendant Milo repeatedly informed plaintiffs that they would be paid for their work as long as they agreed to the working conditions, did not complain, and performed the work when the defendant demanded it to be done. Defendant Yiannopoulos and a lawyer for Yeezy, identified as Jackie, made several promises of payment that never materialized. Now we're going into the rush week and completion of the app. On April 22nd, 2024, in an interview on the Download podcast, defendant Yee officially announced the release date of his then upcoming album, Vultures 2, to be May 3rd, 2024. On April 28, 2024, defendant Milo made it clear to the YZYVSN workers tasked with programming and developing the app that defendant Yee wanted the app's release to coincide with the release of Vultures 2. So if Vultures 2 is coming out on May 3rd, he wanted that app to also be done and ready to be live on May 3rd. Defendant Yee and defendant Milo's public and private statements pressured the development team, including plaintiffs, to finish the app as quickly as possible. Beginning April 28, 2024, YZYVSN workers tasked with the app development and design, including plaintiffs DaCosta and RM, which is the minor, were told they were now in rush week. They were required to complete development of the app before May 3rd to correspond with the defendant Yee's release of Vultures 2. Upon information and belief, Rush Week began on April 28, 2024. YZYVSN app developers, including plaintiff DaCosta and RM, did not know before April 28th that they would have to participate in Rush Week, or they would be required to finish development of the app by May 3rd, 2024 deadline. Oh my God, this is so sad. On Sunday, April 28, 2024, at about 9:09 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or Eastern Time, uh, defendant's representative, Mr. Venezia, contacted the plaintiff DaCosta via text indicating that both were to attend an urgent meeting with defendant Ye at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. In this text conversation, Mr. Venezia told plaintiff DaCosta that Ye wants to launch the app Friday. Time to grind. Now, that is less than a week. From approximately 10:30 Eastern Standard Time to 11:30 Eastern Standard Time, two separate meetings occurred. The first meeting occurred at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So this is now labeled as a 10:30 meeting between plaintiffs DaCosta and a YZYV SP app designer named KP and defendants representatives Mr. Venezia and Jonathan Solorzano. During the 10:30 meeting, defendant Yeezy employees and YZYVSN workers discussed that features would need to be cut from the app in order to complete it on time. Mr. Solorzano told everyone that defendant Yeezy would pay everyone for their work. Mr. Solorzano also complained that he was forced He was being forced to work odd hours as an employee of defendant Yeezy. About 10:45 that night, the second meeting started. It was attended by defendant Milo, Milo's assistant Sebastian, Mr. Salazano, and YZYVSN workers, plaintiff DaCosta, Massimo, Cameron Cross, Jalil, and developers identified as Robert and Sloan. Defendant Milo explained to the YZYVSN workers in attendance that he had convinced Yee not to attend the meeting that night, but defendants want the app to be finished and released by May 3rd. Defendant Milo provided the YZYVSN workers with a strict direction regarding the app's development, discussing and aspects of the app that needed additional work and what needed to be abandoned in order to meet the new deadline. Near the end of the meeting, Milo informed the YZYVSN workers in attendance, including plaintiffs DaCosta and RM, the minor, that the app needed to be finished by Wednesday, May 1st. So they was notified on April 28th, and now you telling me that it needs to be finished by May 1st? Before adjourning, defendant Milo told the YZYVSN workers that were present, including plaintiffs DaCosta and RM, that the strict deadline should be kept strictly confidential and that what was discussed in the meeting should not even be discussed with the other YZYVSN workers. Following the meeting, Mr. Salarzano, using a Yeezy company credit card, purchased the necessary developer accounts for GitHub so that the various development groups could remotely share development files and collaborate on shared documents in real time. Throughout the rush week, each of the plaintiffs, including the minors, worked long, hard hours every day without pay. Due to the differences of time zones, minors and adult YZYVSN workers working in Europe and the Middle East were forced to sacrifice sleep, work, school attendance, and other educational requirements and to attend meetings throughout the middle of the night. Where were these minors' parents? Throughout Rush Week, plaintiffs and other YZYVSN workers were required to and did regularly provide updates of their progress with the defendant Milo and other employees of defendant Yeezy, including but not limited to Mr. Solarzano. On behalf of defendant Ye and Yeezy, defendant Milo, and employees of defendant Yeezy managed, directed, and supervised plaintiffs' work with the entirety of Rush Week by providing direction and approving and rejecting changes and responses to the updates plaintiffs provided with further direction. The app was completed on Thursday, May 2nd, 2024. Now we're going into the hostile work environment and abusive working conditions. At all times alleged in this complaint, the plaintiffs were under the supervision and control of defendant Milo and defendant Yeezy, both directly and through various Yeezy employees and contractors. Beginning April 7, 2024, defendant Milo and defendant Yeezy directed plaintiffs and other YZYVSN workers through the app's channel, the group chats, on Discord, the Discord channel. The Discord channel functioned as an online workspace precisely in the same way a conference room or a physical office space would do. Participants received direction, exchange information, excuse me, such as ideas, orders, and documents and images, and responded to messages and requests. Defendants at all time had the responsibility and ability to ensure a safe, inclusive working environment that did not tolerate hostile and or intolerable conditions. Defendants had the responsibility and authority to discipline a member and or implement rules to maintain a safe and inclusive working environment that is free from discrimination. Defendants were aware or reasonably should have been aware of the conditions in the Discord server, and defendants Ye and Milo read, sent, and participated in the messages and communications in the Discord channel. However, defendants did not ensure a safe and inclusive working environment, nor one free of discrimination. Despite having direct knowledge of the toxic, abusive, and exploitative working environment, defendants did nothing to stop or otherwise prevent it. Instead, the work environment perpetrated by the Discord channel and conveyed to plaintiffs and other communications with defendants' employees that supervise, direct directed them was hostile, characterized by extreme racism and bullying and exposure to inappropriate content. I'm sorry. Ooh, wee. On several occasions, Black and African members of the development team, including plaintiffs DaCosta, Alatunji, and Mofo King, were mocked on the Discord channel for their skin color, national origin, and ethnicity, and were called slaves. Plaintiff DaCosta, who identifies as Black, conveyed repeatedly that he was not comfortable with the use of the term slaves and Black can emojis being used and asked it to stop. Following this, employees of defendant Yeezy, including Mr. Venezia, made a new Discord channel labeled New Slaves for newcomers to the app development team. The Discord channel's New Slaves were not renamed until Plaintiff DaCosta, who is Black, demanded that they be changed. Additional racial slurs and derogatory terms were often used to mock, demean, and discriminate against Plaintiff DaCosta and other Black and African developers. For example, the Discord channel defendant Milo, who is Caucasian, would use Black and brown skinned emojis to communicate with Black and brown members of the development team. Defendant Yeezy employees, including Mr. Venezia, created secret groups of developers that were working directly with Yeezy employees to complete the development of the app for the vultures to release. Defendant Milo commented that he knew about Mr. Venezia's creating groups of only ethnically white YZYVSN workers. Mr. Venezia, acting under the control and at the direction of defendants Yeezy and Milo, created subgroups of developers, now secret subgroups of developers based on race and national origin. Further, only white Caucasian members of the YZYVSN app development team were secretly given promise of jobs at Yeezy as developers. Minors on the development team, including plaintiffs John Doe 1 and John Doe 2, were mocked and bullied for their age. The youngest developer at the time was plaintiff John Doe 2, a 14-year-old. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Pictures of infants were distributed in the Discord channel to insinuate and or refer to the minors, including John 2, as children or infants. Defendant Yeezy and his employees, including Milo, Solorzano, Contreras, and Spencer, as members and participants of the Discord channel, witnessed all of the foregoing. At no point did the employees of defendant Yeezy ever bother to regulate or moderate the Discord channel to stop or prevent the workplace harassment, discrimination, or hostile environment. Yeah. The I swear I think this is getting worse and worse as we read on. Next session is Yeezy, corn, and cornography in the workplace. That's what we're gonna call it, corn. During the development of the app, defendant Yee and defendant Yeezy announced on April 24th, 2024, that they would start an adult film and cornography venture known as Yeezy Corn. Upon information and belief, on or around April 27th, 2024, defendant Yee's wife Bianca sent YZYVSN worker a file sharing link of hardcore cornography for the Yeezy Corn app. Pictures of cornography related to Yeezy Corn were openly disseminated on the Discord channel. No guardrails were put in place to prevent the underaged YZYVSN workers from working on Yeezy Corn, or to prevent them from being exposed to being forced to view cornography to perform their work. Just like y'all created all these different secret sub Discord channels, they could have easily put the adults in one and did that and left the kids out. Next section, failure to make payments of wages and unlawful conditions of payment of wages upon waiver of legal claims. In the week leading up to April 28, 2024, the YZYVSN workers asked for a status on the update of payment of wages. Following the development of the app, each of the YZYVSN workers, including plaintiffs, requested an expected payment of their wages for their work. On or around May 1st, 2024, the YZYVSN app was completed and provided to defendant Yeezy. On or around May 1st, Mr. Venezia was promised a job doing management at Yeezy, and then he would be flying to Los Angeles, California on or around May 3rd, 2024. On or around May 7th, 2024, a dispute arose between defendant Milo and Mr. Venezia regarding payment on the project. On May 10th, 2024, Mr. Venezia informed the YZYVSN workers that the acquisition deal and promises to purchase the YZYVSN app was not real. Wow. On May 13th, Mr. Venezia sent the rest of the team members, including plaintiffs, a screenshot of messages between himself and defendant Milo discussing payments of wages. Mr. Venezia informed the YZYVSN workers that defendant Milo had misled everyone regarding whether they would be paid for the work and the promises of continued work. Now, these people have been sleep deprived, have missed school work just to work on an app that y'all wanted out before May 3rd, and y'all didn't pay them? Mm, 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 mm. In the conversation, defendant Milo promised that workers would be paid on May 14th. However, they were not paid on May 14th. On May 14th, plaintiffs and YZYVSN workers requested an urgent meeting with defendant Milo to discuss their missing wages. On or around May 15th, defendant Milo and Mr. Venezia informed defendant Yeezy that some YZYVSN workers intended to organize together to bring a lawsuit regarding their exploitation, the child labor, and labor violations. So they said, hey, look, since y'all don't want to pay, we're going to sue y'all. And we're going to let everybody know how y'all treated us, including the kiddos. Oh my gosh. On May 17th, Mr. Venezia agreed to send and did send a letter to defendants on behalf of the YZYVSN workers regarding the missing wages. So Mr. Venezia was more like um their union rep. He was trying to help them get paid. He was trying to get paid. As a result of the plaintiffs in this matter have suffered threats, coercion, intimidation, and harassment for requesting their wages, and their wages have essentially held hostage even though lawfully do. My gosh. Damages. The working conditions on the app were created under defendant's supervision and from their demands to meet harsh deadlines. Throughout the app development process, YZYVSN workers were forced to attend meetings at various times and unusual hours. The timing of the meetings to meet app development deadlines required adult and minor YZYVSN workers located in time zones in Europe and the Middle East to attend meetings 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. local time. Many members of the app development team described the stress of work conditions, the constant deadline changes, and the cult-like behavior of other workers on the YZYVSN workers as hostile, intimidating, and harassing. These conditions caused various YZYVSN workers, including the plaintiffs, to experience anxiety, depression, trips to the doctor regarding health complications caused by stress of the working conditions. Now, these are additional allegations that is specific to each of the plaintiffs that are suing. So for DaCosta is an app developer and a YZYVSN worker that experienced all of the conditions that were described while working for the defendant. DaCosta is of Jamaican descent, descent and identifies as Black and a citizen of the United States and is a resident of New York. He's 23 years old. DaCosta was delegated to a Discord channel named New Slaves, which he perceived as blatantly racist, in which it was. The channel was only removed after DaCosta raised an issue with Mr. Venezia, and he believed including him and other Black and African developers on the team in the channel called New Slaves was racist. Additionally, Yeezy employees such as defendant Milo used communications such as messaging platform emojis to repeatedly comment on DaCosta's race and make implicit racist jokes. Specifically, defendant Milo used black skin emojis to taunt DaCosta and other Black and African developers in the Discord channel and other communications. Despite making significant contributions doing his work for the defendants during Rush Week, plaintiff DaCosta was never paid or given any credit for his work. Due to the working conditions he was subject to while working for defendants, including the hostile working environment, extensive hours, and withholding his pay, DaCosta has suffered emotional distress, anxiety, humiliation, anguish, depression, and they list anxiety again. Defendants agreed and promised that DaCosta would be paid for his work for the defendants once it was completed. He did perform the work and complete the project by May 2nd. However, as of the timing of filing this particular lawsuit, DaCosta has not been paid. His emotional damages are exaggerated and directly attributed to being called a slave, being mocked and degraded for his skin color, and not being paid after working long hours and under immense pressure to meet May 3rd, 2024 deadline. The next person, Foloso. That's how I'm not going to even try to pronounce the last name. This person is a 3D artist and designer and a software engineering student with an emphasis in multimedia design and a YZYVSN worker that experienced all the conditions described above while working for defendants. Plaintiff Foloso is a South African descent and a resident and citizen of South Africa. He is 20 years old. During the time he performed work for defendants, Mr. Venezia would often ignore man. He would ignore him and other YZYVSN workers from Africa. During the project, and I need to say his name, plaintiff Mofo King worked on a team of other YZYVSN workers doing digital design, including minors, to make 3D digital models for use in 3D animation videos for the app. including a 45-second promotion video to promote the YZYVSN app launch. Plaintiff Mofo King faced exclusion from key communications and decisions, further marginalizing his role in contributing with the YZYVSN work teams. For example, plaintiff Mofo King was not permitted to be part of the secret whites only development groups or have FaceTime or interaction or interactions with Yeezy employees and development group such as Edward Contreras, Jonathan Solorzano, and Chad Spencer. Plaintiff found out about the existence of the side groups when inquiring about tasks from one of the lead YZYVSN app developers. Thereafter, plaintiff was placed by lead developer Massimo in groups with developers from Venecia's home country, Argentina, where Spanish was spoken in group chats. Plaintiff does not speak Spanish and protested that he would not be able to perform his work, but nothing was done. Being forced to attempt to perform work in a workspace in which he could not communicate was further effort to marginalize plaintiff based on his race and national origin, and to force him to abandon his work and the pay he was owed. Defendant Milo, through Mr. Venecia, pressured plaintiff into signing documents such as an NDA, often with the implication that he would receive certain benefits only if he complied. The demands placed on plaintiff disrupted his academic schedule, forcing him into late night, uncompensated meetings that negatively affect his studies and physical and mental well-being. Despite making significant contributions doing his work for defendants during the rush week, plaintiff was never paid or given any credit for his work. Due to the working conditions he was subject to while working for defendants, including the hostile work environment, the extensive hours, and the withholding of his pay, plaintiff has suffered emotional distress, anxiety, humiliation, anguish, and depression. Defendant agreed and promised that defendants agreed and promised that plaintiff would be paid for his work for defendants once it was completed, and he did perform the work and completed the project by May 2nd. However, at the time of this filing, he was not paid at all. He has suffered emotional damages, which exacerbated and directly attributed to be called a slave, being mocked and degraded for his skin color, and not being paid after working long hours and under immense pressure to meet that May 3rd deadline. Miles Jackson Leah. This was a lead app developer and a YZYVSN worker. Um, also experienced everything that has been stated in the complaint thus far. Leah is a resident and citizen of the United Kingdom. He is a university student, and he's actually graduating this month, actually, with a Bachelor of Arts degree with the honors in cybersecurity. He is 25 years old. He began work on the YZYVSN app development team on March 11th. He was the primary coder and designer of the original version of the YZYVSN app that was shown to defendants. He reported directly to and supervised by defendant Yeezy employee Edward Contreras. Let's see. Defendants required Leia to attend meetings and work long hours between 7 p.m. and 2 a.m., which is Greenwich Mean Time. That is the time for if he's in the UK, that's the hours that he has to work if he was in the UK. Plaintiff was forced to sacrifice his sleep, personal time, and schoolwork to attend meetings. During rush week, beginning April 28th, Leah worked long hours through the middle of the night and beyond to meet the project's arbitrary 1 week deadline. It's not even a 1 week, that was less than a week. Despite making significant contributions during his work for defendant, especially during rush week, plaintiff Leah was never paid or given any credit for their work. And once again, they are going with the, working the extensive hours, and, that messed with them mentally, emotionally, gave them anxiety, humili- humiliation, anguish, and depression. Same thing as the remainder of the plaintiffs have stated in a complaint. Once again, at the timing of this lawsuit, he was never paid. Uh, O Latunji. That's what we're going to call him. So, plaintiff here was a marketer, and he was part of the developmental team, and he also have experienced everything that the previous plaintiffs have gone through. He is of African descent, and he is a citizen of Nigeria and 24 years old. Let's see. He was also ignored by Mr. Venezia in the Discord channel app. Let's see. They said that he was mocked because he has an accent and he speaks English. His face, he was faced with exclusion from key communications and decisions, further marginalizing his role and contributions within the team. For example, he was not permitted to be a part of the secret white-only development groups or have FaceTime and interaction with Yeezy employees such as Contreras, Solorzano, or Chad Spencer. So just like with that, he was placed in a group chat where he does not speak any type of Spanish. So, of course, when you cannot understand or communicate with the other members, how can you get anything done? Okay. So if they try to come back and say, well, you didn't get this work done, well, you placed me in a group where I can't even understand what the world is going on. Okay. Give me just 1 second. Okay, so now we have. So it stated that he does not speak Spanish and he protested that he would not be able to perform his work, but nothing was done. So he was being forced to perform work in a workspace where he could not communicate, which marginalized him based on his race, national origin, and to force him to also abandon his work and the pay that he was owed. So pretty much everybody is saying the same thing. Here are the minor children, the 16-year-old. So normally, and I am going through this now, knowing that the minors actually have school. So because they couldn't even go to school, that is one thing. So you already know that it's going to be some type of disruption in their education and their grades. Yes. And I'm just kind of going through here. So we have the 15-year-old. So the 15-year-old and the other minors, all of them were deprived. Let's see, constantly broken, stressful, work. Now we have one of the minors that were actually a resident of California. Let's see. Yes, I am going through this. I am going through this. The 17-year-old that lived overseas. So pretty much they are all having the same issues. And y'all, this is a 49-page document here. So all of the actions that they are suing them is what I said in the beginning. So they are suing them for forced labor, cruel, inhumane, degrading treatment, failure to pay minimum wage, failure to pay overtime, hostile work environment, discrimination, failure to prevent harassment, fraud, misrepresentation, and failure to pay them for work that was already performed. Now, looking at what they are actually, let's see, I want to see what they are suing them for. If I can get down to that last page. So they are seeking damages for unpaid wages and overtime wages and such general and special damages that may be appropriate, prejudgment interest and unpaid overtime wages, overtime. Yeah, they. Oh yeah, whoever wrote this. Compensation damages for an accounting and restitution of wages unlawfully withheld and retained by defendant, damages for emotional distress, punitive and exemplary damages, civil penalties, and attorney's fees and costs, for filing this lawsuit, and the fees for actually retaining a lawyer. This is going to be a case here, and they have a demand for jury trial. So they want to push this to trial, which they have the right to do so as well. It doesn't have a dollar amount on here, but I am assuming that the attorney is going to calculate the times that they uh, were working, plus the amounts that they stated that they were going to pay each employee once they bring them on. Um, this is wild. So I would post a link to this, but I'm not going to do that. Tell me what you guys think about this. I seen this on my feed and I had to hop onto it. So it's very interesting that Yeezy is once again back in the news, not paying employees. But what's most shocking is that you are using children, and you are you have exposed them to content that they should not be exposed to. Tell me what you guys think about this. This is beyond crazy. I pray that these workers, the plaintiffs, and these minors get justice. My question is, though, for the minors, where were the parents at? Where were the parents at? There's no reason why, as a mother, I know how late my kids stay up. I know exactly what they do on this here app or on their computer. Whatever the case may be, I am in their business. So I do want to know where the parents were at. Because as a kid, if I was like, oh my God, mom, guess what? I get to work on the development team to see if we can present this app to Kanye West. If my kid came to me, I'm all up in, I'm trying to see what's going on. I'm not going to allow my child to be deprived of sleep and put off their educational studies to work on an app that I didn't see no contract to. So definitely tell me what your thoughts is on this one. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I hope you guys have a blessed remainder of your week. And until then, be blessed, and I'm out.